Blood dripped from her split lip onto the marble floor. She didn't wipe it away. Couldn't. Her hands were bound behind her back, zip ties cutting into swollen wrists. 3 men stood in a half-circle around her, breathing hard, knuckles red. They'd taken turns. Not with fists only. Words hurt worse. Bitch. Waste of space. Should've drowned you at birth. The room smelled like cigar smoke and expensive cologne trying to mask the stench of violence. Somewhere behind the curtains, rain hammered against floor-to-ceiling windows. Los Angeles at midnight. The city where her family had promised her a fresh start. Where her aunt said she'd find work, find dignity, find a life that fit her better than the one she'd left in Atlanta. They lied. He's here, someone whispered from the doorway. The 3 men stepped back immediately. Straightened their shirts. Wiped blood from their rings. She stayed on her knees because standing required energy she'd spent hours ago trying not to scream. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Slow. Deliberate. The kind of walk that didn't need to rush because everything waited. The door opened without a knock. He entered like weather. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just inevitable. Tall, leaner than she expected, black suit tailored so perfectly it looked painted on. His face could have been carved from stone. Sharp jaw, sharper eyes, hair slicked back revealing a scar that ran from his left temple into his hairline. He didn't look at the men. Didn't look at her. He looked at the blood on the floor. Explain, he said. One word. Flat. American. No accent. The oldest of the 3 men stepped forward, bowing slightly. We brought compensation. For the shipment your men seized last month. For the disrespect. Compensation. His voice was quiet. Quieter than it should have been. That scared her more than the beating had. She's American. Black. Nobody will look for her. She's yours to do with as you. Look at me. The man's mouth snapped shut. I said look at me. The man raised his eyes. Sweat appeared on his forehead despite the air conditioning. You brought a woman. Beaten. Bound. Into my home. And called it compensation. We thought. You thought I was the kind of man who accepts human beings as payment. Silence dropped like a guillotine blade. We heard stories, the man stammered. About what you do to people who cross you. We thought. You thought wrong. He finally looked at her. Not at her body. At her eyes. She'd spent her whole life having men look through her, past her, around her. He looked directly into her. Held her gaze for 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours. Then he turned back to the men. Take your hands, he said calmly. Put them on the table. Nobody moved. Now. They obeyed. All 3. Palms down on the mahogany surface, fingers spread. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't pull a weapon. He simply walked to the wall, pressed a button, and spoke in rapid English. Within seconds, 4 men in black entered carrying bolt cutters. Wait, the oldest man gasped. Please, we didn't know. Every finger that touched her, he said. Gone. She watched it happen. Watched grown men scream. Watched fingers hit the floor like broken chopsticks. Watched him stand perfectly still, face empty, while the room filled with sounds she'd hear in nightmares for years. When it ended, when the 3 men were dragged out leaving blood trails, he walked to her. Knelt down. Cut the zip ties with a pocket knife. Can you stand? He asked. She tried. Her legs shook. He caught her elbow, steadied her, released her the moment she had balance. What's your name? Her voice came out broken. Rochelle. Rochelle. He said it correctly. Not Rochelle. Rochelle. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Answer honestly. Do you understand? She nodded. If you are enjoying this story, please subscribe to the channel for more. Did you come here by choice? No. Do you have family who knows where you are? I have an aunt. She's the one who, her voice cracked. She's the one who gave me to them. Something flickered across his face. Not pity. Recognition. 3rd question. Do you want to leave this house tonight? She stared at him. This was the trap. This was where he'd reveal himself as worse than the others. Where kindness rotted into cruelty. If I say yes, she whispered. I'll have someone drive you anywhere in the city. Give you money. Help you disappear. And if I say no? You stay. Under my protection. Until you decide otherwise. Her knees almost gave out again. Why? Because, he said quietly, I'm not the monster they told you I was. He stood, extended his hand. She looked at it. Looked at him. Took it. That was how it started. With blood on marble and a choice she never expected to have. The room they gave her was bigger than the apartment she'd shared with 3 other girls back in Atlanta. Cream walls, soft lighting, a bed that looked like it had never been slept in. The bathroom had a tub. An actual soaking tub. Toiletries arranged on the counter still in packaging. Someone had left clothes on the bed. Sweatpants. Oversized shirt. Socks. She stood in the doorway for 10 minutes, waiting for the catch. Nobody came. No locked door. No cameras she could see. No guards outside. Just silence and the distant hum of the city below. She finally moved inside, closed the door, and collapsed against it. Tears came then. Not from pain. From confusion. From the whiplash of expecting death and receiving mercy. She cried until her ribs ached, until her face swelled, until exhaustion dragged her into sleep right there on the floor. She woke to knocking. Soft. Polite. A woman's voice speaking English. I brought food, the woman said. And medicine for your face. Rochelle sat up slowly, body screaming. The woman entered carrying a tray, set it on the bedside table, and immediately backed toward the door. Wait, Rochelle said. What's your name? Camila. I work here. Cleaning, cooking, whatever the boss needs. She hesitated. He said to tell you breakfast is available whenever you're ready. No rush. Where is he? Business meeting. He'll be back tonight. Camila left before Rochelle could ask more questions. The food was simple. Eggs, toast, fruit, coffee. She ate mechanically, tasting nothing, mind racing. Protection. He'd said protection. Men didn't protect women like her. Men used women like her until they got bored or angry, then discarded them. That was the pattern. That was the rule. So why was she sitting in luxury eating warm food with nobody watching? She spent the day exploring carefully. The house was massive. More mansion than house. Hallways that went on forever, rooms she didn't dare enter, artwork on walls that probably cost more than her entire life. She saw staff moving quietly, saw men in suits talking in low voices, saw glimpses of a world she didn't understand. Nobody stopped her. Nobody stared. A few people nodded politely. That somehow felt worse than hostility. By evening, she'd worked herself into a panic. This was too good. Too clean. Too careful. He was playing a long game. Letting her relax before he struck. That's what predators did. They made you trust before they bit. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, hands shaking, when he knocked. 3 precise taps. "Come in," she said before she could stop herself. He entered, still in the black suit, looking tired now. Human. He didn't sit. Didn't get close. Just stood near the door with hands in his pockets. "How are you feeling?" "Confused," she said honestly. "That's fair. What do you want from me?" He studied her for a long moment. "Nothing. Nobody wants nothing. I want you to heal. To rest. To decide what comes next for you without fear." He paused. "That's not nothing. But it's not what you're afraid I want." She wrapped her arms around herself. "People don't do this. People don't just help." "Some people don't," he agreed. "I'm not interested in being some people. You cut off their fingers." "Yes. That's not exactly merciful." "Mercy," he said quietly, "is context-dependent. They brought you here to be destroyed. I gave them a reason never to touch another woman like that again." He met her eyes. "Would you have preferred I let them leave whole?" She didn't answer. "Couldn't." "You're free to go," he said. "Tomorrow. Tonight. Whenever you choose." "I meant what I said." "And if I stay?" "Then you stay." "For how long?" "As long as you need." She stood, legs steadier now. "What's your name?" "Your real name." "Marcus." "Marcus," she repeated. "Why me? Why this? You could have just sent them away." He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice carried weight she didn't understand yet. "Because 5 years ago, someone showed me mercy I didn't deserve. And I decided if I ever had the power to do the same, I would." He turned toward the door. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll talk about what you need." He left. The door stayed unlocked. She lay down on the bed, stared at the ceiling, and realized something terrifying. She believed him. And belief, in her experience, was the most dangerous thing a woman like her could carry. 3 days passed. Then a week. Then 2. The pattern never broke. Nobody touched her. Nobody demanded anything. Marcus appeared at irregular intervals, always polite, always distant, always asking if she needed anything. The staff treated her like a guest. The guards nodded when she passed. The house hummed with activity that never included her unless she chose to be included. It was driving her insane. She'd spent her entire life braced for impact. Waiting for the other shoe to drop, for kindness to curdle, for safety to reveal itself as a trap. But the impact never came. The shoe stayed exactly where it was. And safety just kept being safe. Camila became something like a friend. They'd sit in the kitchen late at night when the house quieted, drinking tea, talking about nothing important. Camila asked questions carefully, never pushing, always giving Rochelle room to retreat. "How long have you worked here?" Rochelle asked one night. 3 years. Marcus hired me after my brother got into trouble with a gang. He made the trouble disappear. Gave me a job. Paid for my brother's rehab." Camila smiled sadly. "He does that. Collects broken things and fixes them. I'm not broken." "I didn't say you were." But Rochelle heard it anyway. Heard the implication. That she was another charity case. Another project. Another broken thing Marcus had decided to fix because it made him feel less like a monster. The anger came fast. Hot. Unfamiliar. She stood abruptly, chair scraping against tile. "I need air." She found herself in the garden. Not the manicured front lawn but the back area, wilder, more real. Trees blocked the city lights. Stone paths wound through plants she didn't recognize. A fountain bubbled somewhere close. She sat on a bench, trying to breathe, trying not to scream. "You're upset." She jumped. Marcus stood 3 feet away, hands in his pockets, face unreadable in the moonlight. "I didn't hear you." "I know. I'm quiet when I want to be." She turned away. "I need to leave." "All right." "That's it? Just all right? Would you prefer I argued?" She stood, faced him. "I would prefer you tell me the truth. Why am I really here? What do you actually want?" "I told you. Nobody is this kind," she snapped. "Nobody. Especially not men like you. Men like me. Gangsters. Criminals. Whatever you are." He didn't react. Didn't defend himself. Just watched her with those impossible calm eyes. "You're right," he said finally. "Men like me aren't kind. We're practical. Strategic. We don't waste resources on things that don't benefit us." "Exactly. So you want to know what benefit you provide me?" "Yes." He stepped closer. Not threatening. Just closer. "You remind me that power without principle is just violence. That mercy is a choice, not a weakness. That the world I operate in doesn't have to be the only world that exists." He paused. "You benefit me by existing exactly as you are. Nothing more." She felt tears coming and hated herself for it. "I'm not your redemption arc. I'm not asking you to be." "Then what are you asking?" "Nothing. I never was." The words hit her differently this time. She heard them. Actually heard them. He wasn't asking. Wasn't demanding. Wasn't expecting. He was just allowing. Giving her space to exist without condition. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "Do what?" "Be safe. Be comfortable. Be treated like I matter." Something shifted in his expression. Not pity. Understanding. "Then learn here. Take however long you need. And when you get tired of me?" "I won't." "You can't promise that." "I can," he said. "Because I've been exactly where you are. Waiting for kindness to expire. For safety to end. For the world to remember I don't deserve peace." He held her gaze. "Someone taught me I was wrong. Now I'm teaching you." She sat back down. He sat beside her. Not close. Just present. They stayed like that until the sky started lightening, until the city woke up, until the impossibility of the moment settled into something almost real. The world outside didn't forget about her. It came looking 3 weeks later. Her aunt arrived at the gates with 2 men Rochelle didn't recognize, demanding entry, demanding her niece, demanding compensation for the trouble. The guards called Marcus. He came immediately. Rochelle watched from the upstairs window as her aunt screamed in English and broken Spanish, pointing toward the house, toward her, spitting accusations. The men with her looked nervous. They should have. Marcus stood perfectly still, listening, face empty. When her aunt finally stopped for breath, he spoke. 2 sentences. Quiet. Final. Her aunt's face went white. She stumbled backward. The men grabbed her arms, practically dragged her back to the car. They peeled away fast enough to leave rubber on the driveway. Marcus looked up. Found Rochelle's window. Held her gaze. Then he walked back inside. She met him in the hallway. "What did you say to her?" "That you're under my protection. That anyone who tries to take you will face consequences they can't survive. She's my family." "She sold you," he said flatly. That ended her claim. What if she tries again? She won't. How do you know? Because I know what fear looks like. Rochelle felt something crack open inside her chest. Not grief. Not anger. Relief. The kind that hurt worse than pain because she'd never expected to feel it. Thank you, she whispered. He nodded once. Started to leave. She caught his sleeve. He stopped. I want to stay, she said. Not because I'm scared. Not because I have nowhere else. Because I want to. He turned back. Looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Then stay. That was the night everything changed. Because safety wasn't the gift. Choice was. And she'd just chosen herself for the first time in her life. The real test came 2 months later when Marcus's world demanded she prove she wasn't a liability. A meeting. High stakes. People who mattered, who made decisions that shaped the city's underworld. He asked if she wanted to attend. Not required. Wanted. Why would I go? She asked. Because they need to see you exist. That you're not hidden. Not a secret. Not a weakness. I'll make you look soft. I am soft, he said. About things that matter. So she went. Dressed in clothes Camila helped her pick out. Black dress, simple, elegant, fitted enough to show she wasn't hiding. She walked into that room of dangerous men with her chin up and her hands steady. They stared. Some with confusion. Some with disgust. Some with calculation. Marcus introduced her simply. This is Rochelle. She's under my protection. One man laughed. Protection. Is that what they call it now? The room went cold. Marcus didn't move. Didn't speak. Just looked at the man until the laughter died. Say that again, Marcus said quietly. I just meant. Say. It. Again. The man swallowed. I apologize. Not to me. The man turned to Rochelle. Bowed slightly. I apologize. She nodded. Didn't smile. Didn't shrink. Just acknowledged. The meeting continued. She sat beside Marcus, silent, observing. Learning. Watching how power moved, how men negotiated without saying what they meant, how violence lived in pauses and implications. Afterward, in the car, Marcus spoke first. You handled that well. I didn't do anything. Exactly. You didn't flinch. Didn't hide. Didn't apologize for existing. That's everything. She looked out the window. Los Angeles blurred past. They think I'm your whore. Some do. Does it bother you? Does it bother you? She thought about it. Really thought. No. Because I know what I am. They can think whatever they need to sleep at night. He smiled. Actually smiled. You're learning. But learning came with consequences. Marcus's enemies saw her as an opening. A weakness to exploit. The threat started small. Anonymous messages. Photos of her leaving the house. Implications that safety was temporary. Marcus handled each one with surgical precision. People disappeared. Not loudly. Not publicly. They just stopped existing in his world. The threat stopped. Then came a different kind of test. One of Marcus's business partners showed up unannounced. A woman. Elegant, sharp, the kind who'd built her empire from nothing. Her name was Diana. She asked to speak with Rochelle alone. They sat in the garden, afternoon sun filtering through leaves. You're the one everyone's talking about, Diana said. I guess. They say Marcus has changed. Gone soft. Lost his edge. Diana studied her. What do you think? I think people confuse restraint with weakness. Diana smiled. Smart answer. But I didn't come here for smart answers. I came to warn you. Rochelle tensed. About what? About what happens when men like Marcus try to change. They make enemies of everyone. The people who want them to stay monsters. The people who don't believe they can be anything else. And the people who see change as vulnerability. Diana leaned forward. You're in danger. Not from Marcus. From everyone watching him. He's protecting me. He's trying. But protection only works until someone decides the cost of breaking it is worth the reward. Diana stood. I like you. I don't know why yet. So I'm telling you this once. Learn to protect yourself. Because the day will come when he can't. She left. Rochelle sat there, heart racing, mind spinning. That night, she told Marcus about the conversation. Diana's right, he said. So what do I do? You learn. He started training her the next day. Not physically. Mentally. How to read rooms. How to spot danger. How to move through his world without becoming a victim of it. How to handle money. How to negotiate. How to know when someone was lying. Why are you teaching me this? She asked one afternoon. Because relying on me keeps you dependent. Understanding this world makes you equal. She absorbed everything. Watched. Listened. Asked questions that made people uncomfortable. Within months, she understood the business. Not just Marcus's legitimate operations. The whole ecosystem. Who owed what? Who held power? Who was vulnerable? She changed too. Not her body. Society had spent her whole life trying to change that. She changed how she moved. How she spoke. How she took up space. She stopped apologizing. Stopped shrinking. Started existing at full volume. Marcus noticed. Everyone noticed. You're different, Camila said one morning. How? You look people in the eye now. You walk like you belong places. I do belong. I know. But you believe it now. That's the difference. She was sitting in Marcus's study one evening when he came in holding an envelope. Set it on the desk between them. What's this? She asked. Documents. New identity. Bank account with enough money to start over anywhere you want. And a ticket out. Open-ended. You choose the destination. Her blood went cold. You're sending me away. I'm giving you the option. I don't want it. Rochelle. No. She stood. You don't get to decide when I've had enough. When I'm safe enough. When it's time for me to leave. I'm trying to protect you. From what? Your world. I'm already in it. Your enemies. They already know about me. Yourself? She moved closer. Is that it? Are you protecting me from you? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I was raised to believe people like me don't get happy endings, she said. That we're plot devices in other people's stories. That we exist to be saved or pitied or forgotten. You gave me something different. You gave me a life where I'm the main character. This life will hurt you. Life was hurting me before you. At least now I'm choosing my pain. He stood. They were inches apart. She could see the conflict in his eyes. The war between what he wanted and what he thought was right. I can't promise you safety, he said. I never asked for safe. I asked for real. This world will judge you. Use you. Try to destroy you. They've been doing that my whole life. The only difference now is I have someone standing beside me. He reached up, touched her face. Gentle. Careful. You deserve better than this. I deserve what I choose. And I choose you. He kissed her then. Slow. Certain. A promise that tasted like risk and safety all at once. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. If you stay, he whispered, there's no going back. Good, she said. I hated where I came from anyway. They announced it 2 days later. Not hidden. Not secret. A public declaration that she wasn't temporary. Wasn't collateral. Wasn't a phase. She was permanent. His partner. His equal. The underworld lost its mind. Allies questioned his judgment. Enemies saw opportunity. Rivals circled like sharks. Marcus handled each response with the same calm precision he handled everything else. People fell in line or they disappeared. That was the rule now. But the biggest shock came from an unexpected place. A rival organization offered a truce. Wanted to meet. Wanted to talk. Marcus agreed but insisted Rochelle attend. They met at a neutral location. Warehouse in the industrial district. 10 people on each side. Tension thick enough to choke on. The rival leader was older. Gray hair. Cold eyes. He looked at Rochelle like she was a curiosity. A puzzle he couldn't solve. You're the one, he said. I am. They say Marcus started a war over you. They're wrong. He started a war over principle. I just happened to be standing in the right place. The man smiled. Not friendly. Interested. Principle. In our world. That's a luxury. It's a choice, she corrected. He studied her. You're not what I expected. Nobody ever is. The meeting ended with an agreement. Not peace. Coexistence. As they left, the rival leader pulled Marcus aside. Rochelle watched from the car. Saw them talk. Saw the other man's expression shift from skepticism to something else. When Marcus returned, she asked what was said. He told me I'd either die because of you or become untouchable because of you. Marcus smiled. I told him I'd take those odds. What did he say? That I'm either the smartest man in LA or the stupidest. He looked at her. I said both are probably true. They drove back in comfortable silence. The kind that comes from knowing someone sees you completely and chooses you anyway. That night, lying in bed beside him, she spoke into the darkness. I never thought I'd have this. Have what? Someone who fights for me instead of against me. He pulled her closer. You fight for yourself. I just make sure the fight's fair. She closed her eyes. Breathed. For the first time in her life, the future didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a choice. And she'd already made it. The real change came slowly. Marcus started shifting his business. Moving money from illegal operations into legitimate enterprises. Restaurants. Real estate. Import-export companies that actually imported and exported legal goods. He did it quietly. Carefully. Not because he suddenly grew a conscience. Because he wanted a future that didn't end in blood. You're going legitimate, Rochelle said one night, watching him review contracts. Trying to. Because of me. Because of us. He set the papers down. I've spent 15 years in this world. I'm tired. And I finally have a reason to want something different. What if your people won't follow? Then they're not my people. It wasn't that simple. 3 of his lieutenants pushed back. Called him weak. Said a woman had destroyed his edge. Marcus called a meeting. Made them sit across from Rochelle. Tell her, he said calmly. Tell her what you told me. They squirmed. Avoided her eyes. Finally, the boldest one spoke. We think you've lost your focus. Because I want to build something that lasts? Marcus asked. Because you're making decisions based on emotion. Wrong. I'm making decisions based on logic. This world burns people out by 40. Puts them in prison or graves. I'm choosing a third option. And if we don't agree? Then leave. With your severance and my respect. But if you stay, you follow the new rules. 2 left. 1 stayed. Within weeks, Marcus had restructured everything. New leadership. New focus. New future. Rochelle watched it happen and realized something. She wasn't his redemption. She was his mirror. He saw in her what he'd lost in himself. The ability to believe change was possible. But change always costs something. The cost came when one of Marcus's old enemies tried to exploit the transition. Hit one of the legitimate businesses. Hurt civilians. Left a message that Marcus had gone soft. He didn't respond immediately. That was new. The old Marcus would have retaliated within hours. Instead, he waited. Planned. Moved pieces carefully. When he finally acted, it wasn't with violence. He called the police. Handed over evidence of the rival's illegal operations. Let the system handle it. The underworld was shocked. Marcus had weaponized legitimacy. Used law against lawlessness. Within a week, his enemy was arrested. Assets seized. Empire crumbling. And Marcus didn't have to fire a single shot. That was smart, Rochelle said. That was evolution. They'll call you weak. Let them. While they're busy calling me weak, I'll be busy staying alive. She smiled. You sound like me now. I learned from the best. Time passed. The underworld adjusted. Some grudgingly respected Marcus's transition. Others waited for him to fail. He didn't. His legitimate businesses thrived. His old world contacts became business partners. Violence became unnecessary because profit didn't require blood. Rochelle found her place in it. Not as decoration. As partner. She had a head for numbers, a talent for reading people, a willingness to ask questions nobody else dared ask. Marcus gave her real responsibility. She took it seriously. Within a year, she was running 3 of his restaurants. Making decisions. Hiring staff. Building something that belonged to her. One night, sitting on the terrace overlooking Los Angeles, she said what she'd been thinking for months. I want to go back. He tensed. To Atlanta? To where this started. To where your men found me. I want to buy that building. Turn it into something good. Why? Because that place represents the worst moment of my life. I want to turn it into the best thing I ever built. He studied her. That's dangerous. So was staying here. Fair point. They went back together. To the building where she'd been beaten, bound, handed over like trash. It was abandoned now. Windows broken. Graffiti everywhere. She walked through it slowly, remembering, feeling, choosing not to be defined by it. What do you see? Marcus asked. A shelter. For women like me. Who need somewhere to go when the world decides they don't matter. That'll cost money. We have money. It'll draw attention. Good. Let them see what we're building. He smiled. When did you become the dangerous one? I always was. I just needed someone to believe it first. They bought the building. Renovated it. Opened it 6 months later. A shelter with resources, counseling, job training, safety. Rochelle ran it. Not from a distance. She was there. Meeting women. Hearing stories. Giving them what she'd been given. A choice. The opening made news. Former criminal and his partner opened shelter for at-risk women. Photos of them cutting the ribbon. Articles questioning if someone like Marcus could really change. They didn't respond to the criticism. Just kept working. 1 year later, they'd helped 50 women. Some found jobs. Some reconnected with family. Some, like Rochelle, chose to stay and help others. The shelter became a model. Other cities started similar programs. Marcus's name became associated with reform instead of violence. And slowly, impossibly, they built a life that didn't require looking over their shoulders. But the past never stays buried forever. It came back 5 years later. A man from Marcus's old world. Someone he'd wronged decades ago. Someone who'd waited patiently for the perfect moment to strike. He came to the shelter. Walked right through the doors. Asked to see Marcus. Rochelle was there. She recognized danger immediately. Alerted security. Marcus arrived within minutes. They faced each other. Old enemies. Old wounds. You destroyed my family, the man said. I know. You took everything from me. I did. The man pulled a gun. Security moved but Marcus raised a hand. Stopped them. You here to kill me? Marcus asked calmly. I've imagined it for years. Then do it. But you should know something first. What? Killing me won't bring them back. Won't ease your pain. Won't change what happened. It'll just make you me 20 years ago. The man's hand shook. You don't get to lecture me. I'm not lecturing. I'm telling you what I learned too late. Revenge feels like justice until it's over. Then it just feels empty. You don't know what it's like. I do, Marcus said quietly. I've buried everyone I loved. I've caused suffering I can't undo. I've lived with ghosts longer than I've lived with peace. So yes. I know exactly what it's like. The gun lowered slightly. What am I supposed to do? Anything except this. I don't know how. Marcus gestured to Rochelle. 5 years ago, she didn't either. Now she's helping people I spent decades hurting. If she can change, so can you. The man looked at Rochelle. Really looked. Saw something in her eyes. Recognition. She'd been where he was. Different circumstances. Same rage. How? He asked her. By choosing, she said. Every day. Every moment. Choosing not to let the worst thing that happened define everything after. The gun dropped completely. The man collapsed. Security moved but Marcus stopped them again. He knelt beside the man. Didn't touch him. Just sat there. I can't give you back what I took, Marcus said. But I can help you build something new. The man cried. Loud. Messy. Years of grief pouring out. Security escorted him out eventually. Got him help. Connected him with counseling. 6 months later, he was volunteering at the shelter. Working through his pain by helping others work through theirs. That night, Rochelle and Marcus sat in their bedroom. Exhausted. Raw. You could have died today, she said. So could he. You're not afraid of death. I'm afraid of dying without meaning. She leaned against him. I think we built something that matters. We? I was punished. You were the punishment. We turned it into purpose. He kissed the top of her head. Best thing I ever did was refuse to do what they expected. Best thing I ever did was survive long enough to see it. They sat in silence. Outside, Los Angeles hummed. Inside, two people who should never have mattered built a life that did. Years blurred together. Good ones. The shelter expanded. They opened two more. Marcus completely left his old world. Became a legitimate businessman. Philanthropist. Advocate. The man who'd once terrified a city now funded schools and community centers. Rochelle thrived. Not despite her past. Because of it. She spoke at events. Shared her story. Helped hundreds of women find their way from darkness into light. She became the face of their movement. The proof that change was real. They married quietly. No ceremony. Just papers and promises. His family had disowned him years ago for leaving the life. Hers had never claimed her. So they built their own. Staff became family. The women at the shelter became sisters. Camila became the sister she'd never had. On their 5th anniversary, Marcus gave her an envelope. She opened it. Inside was a deed. What's this? The building where we first met. I bought it. It's yours. She stared at the paper. Why? Because that's where your life changed. I want you to decide what it becomes next. She thought about it. About the blood on marble. The terror. The unexpected mercy. A gallery, she said. For artists who've been told they don't matter. Who've been erased. Who need someone to see them. Perfect. They renovated it together. Turned that house of horrors into a space of beauty. Opened it to the public. It became one of LA's most celebrated galleries. Every artist featured had a story like Rochelle's. Dismissed. Degraded. Told they weren't enough. The gallery proved them all wrong. The day it opened, Rochelle stood in the main hall where she'd first knelt bleeding. Where Marcus had looked at her and chosen mercy over monstrosity. Where everything changed. Marcus found her there. What are you thinking? He asked. That I spent my whole life being someone's punishment. And I turned it into everyone's possibility. He took her hand. You did more than that. You taught me what strength actually looks like. What's that? Refusing to become what hurt you. They stood there. Two people who'd met in violence and built a life in peace. Who'd taken the worst thing the world offered and transformed it into the best thing they could imagine. Outside, Los Angeles moved on. Inside, in a gallery built on blood and mercy, Rochelle finally understood. She was never the punishment. She was the test. And the monster who was supposed to destroy her had chosen instead to prove that redemption was possible for anyone brave enough to try. That was the real shock. Not that he saved her. But that she saved him right back. And together, they built something the underworld never expected. A life where the fat black girl given as punishment became the woman who changed everything. And the man who was supposed to erase her became the person who helped her shine. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, let us know in the comments where you are watching from and share your thoughts.